So, good afternoon. I'm welcoming you to the webinar Digitalization of Business into the Cloud. That's the result of the CloudSocket project. We have foreseen a demonstration which is live here in Vienna, but also distributed in the web. And the intention is that this webinar is put on YouTube, so this can be used for distribution, rehearsals, research and teaching. Now, what are we doing today? We introduce basically two packages. The one is the BPaaS consulting package, which is business process as a service in the consulting area. The second one is BPaaS as a production, as an operation package. So this means that business process actually run into the cloud. And then, of course, we have our research fellows who then introduce how we see the future in cloud computing and the future in terms of consulting. Please find here the names of the presenters. So I will point to the names, and then if you like a presentation, would like to get in contact, please get in contact with the presenters. The rules for the webinar: please mute all your microphones. If you have questions, we have a dedicated question section at the very end. You can chat it, but if you have any questions during the presentations, please raise your hand, chat it. We have an administrator who will then provide the question appropriately into the discussion. Our goal is that by approximately 6 o'clock, so in 1.5 hours, we are done with the demonstration. First of all, we're going to the introduction. Here we have a listen to the experience of a consulting company and a business incubator about the current problems of SME startups and the problems into going to the cloud. Then we have a section demonstrating tools for consulting. So what a broker, a consulting company, a business incubator can do in interacting with SMEs and customers. And then, of course, we have the operation package, where the operation of workflows, business processes, services in the cloud, multi-cloud will be explained. So first of all, we see that everything is an opportunity and a challenge, this digital transformation. It's a massive market, so everybody needs to think about how the digital transformation affects. And hence, some organizations are more affected, some are less affected, but all are somehow confronted with cybersecurity, with legal and compliance regulations, with privacy data, etc., etc. So do you want to have the benefit of flexible IT infrastructure, reducing costs, and do business that you cannot do now? This is called the digital transformation, and how we are doing this will be introduced in the next experience reports. What we have here is two worlds. The one is business expectations. Here we're talking about reliability, about trust, about business values, about things we want to do. And on the other side, it's the IT and research provision. Here we talk about complex situations, solving issues, and that's the reason why this alignment is a very critical issue, because you have to understand the complexity. During the demonstration, you will see a lot of tools that help you in dealing with this complexity, but if you do not like to have the complexity, okay, the complexity is here, you have to deal somehow. So we will introduce you the products, the results in form of demonstration, and we will give you an outlook, what we call innovation items for the future, how we think that the future will evolve. A very dramatic sample. There is a lady from one of our business incubators, that's an SME. She is biologist, she has worms, and the worms produce humus. And the question is how such a guy, such a young lady, can be convinced that digital transformation also affects her. So we are talking not with technicians, but we're talking with persons that do not have IT in mind. And this is what we see is necessary. First of all, we have a business process, and that's a very simple business process, sending invoices. So every SME, every customer, every organization has to send invoices. And basically there are 3 steps: making the invoice, having the customer relationship, and sending the invoice and check if the invoice is paid. Now, 3 simple steps in the world of a business guy means if you think about how to implement this with IT support, we are coming to what we're calling abstract workflow. And the abstract workflow explains requirements, SLAs, which are service level agreements, regulations. So here we have how you can actually introduce it. The concrete workflow, you can consider there are many blue boxes. They are discussing the tight interaction with the software programs, and the cloud deployment here in the camel format actually explains exactly which part has to be deployed where, has to be installed. So these are several thousand lines long list of codes. And CloudSocket discusses the business IT alignment. How can you come from a very rudimentary and simple business request, I would like to automate my sending invoices, to a full multi-cloud able infrastructure that copes with all this complexity. That's our methodology. And design evaluation is considered as a consulting. So this is business process as a service consulting. Allocation, off and execute, this is what we call operation. And now let's hear from the business incubator viewpoint. I introduce Jürgen Jena from Babicon, Germany, as a business incubator. Please.
Okay. So before we, as an introduction, I would like to dive in what Robert already said, what is digital transformation about? And I would like to start with these 2 photos. You see on the one side, on the left side, 5th Avenue, New York, 1913, a bit more than 100 years ago. And on the right side, you see the same street 3 years before 1930, 1910. And why I show you this is, if you go to the figures, you see on the left side exclusively cars, and on the right side you see 80% horses. And why I tell you this, what is this to do with cloud computing and digital transformation? No one of the carriage manufacturer became a car manufacturer. No one, not even one company. And this is interesting. So whenever we talk about digital transformation, and we have to transfer this now to our to the time what happens now in digital transformation. Whenever a new technology allows, can we go to the next slide? Whenever new technology allows the implementation of a new business model, of a new value generation concept, then the innovation becomes disruptive. Otherwise, innovation can start on an incremental path. And we have currently new technologies, cloud, data analytics, IoT, 4G, 5G, and network technologies, which all have the potential to implement the existing new business models as well as to do innovative innovation. So the 3 goals and the role of IT and SMEs is, of course, to implement the business model, to be on one side, incremental. This is the first point, to allow the implementation of the existing business models more efficient. On the second part, the second goal is, of course, to allow the implementation of new disruptive business models. And of course, companies, small companies, if they are successful, they grow. And then during this process of growth, they have to adapt. They have to use the IT to optimize the internal structure to have the possibility to grow fast. And these are the 3 roles. And here, of course, in all the 3 parts, business processes, which are mostly implemented in cloud technologies, is the core tool, the core concept in order to allow these SMEs to be successful. And how we do this, and this you see on the next slide, almost all startups start managing their business processes with Excel. This is simple, intuitive, fast, and relatively cheap. The alternative is to use powerful solutions like SAP. These are, of course, complex, slow, and expensive. And in the middle, there is nothing, and of course, there is nothing which is helping the companies to smoothly develop from the left side to the right side, and in order to, and this was the third goal mentioned before. And here, CloudSocket has a concept where we have on the left side a CloudSocket marketplace, which is more on the simple side, where we can offer the SME static, predefined workflows in order to adapt. And then, of course, we smoothly can migrate towards the more complex side, and this is how we, as a business broker, think. CloudSocket could help the SMEs to implement the business and to grow. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jürgen. Now, this was a viewpoint of the business incubator, but now we would like also to hear a viewpoint of a consulting company. So, Stefano Pomono from Matema, Italy, please tell your experience from the consulting point of view, how you deal with your customers.
Thank you, Robert. Good afternoon. The typical approach that we have and we have had with a customer of ours is to help the SMEs in digitalize their processes. For instance, GasMed, that is an SME operated in Tuscany and dealing with the gas meter installation and maintaining. Due to a market change, need to improve its CRM in order to pay more attention to its customer. And improving the CRM, it means for them three things. The first one is to allow to its customer to track in real time the status of the repair that is handling the tickets, and then also to improve the internal communication among different departments involved in the process in order to have more efficiencies in warehouse and in handling the spare parts. And the third one is also to integrate the different system and archive they have in the company in a cloud service in order to make them interoperable and accessible also by different devices, thus exploiting all the cloud potential. And Matema, as a consulting company operating in IT, was in charge to analyze this business process of the company and to define a possible solution to improve their business process inside the company. So, when we go to our customer, we found that we can find business needs that are more or less the same in SMEs, at least in Italy. There is cost reduction, the quality of work, the risk reduction, the efficiency, the business acceleration, the reduction of the time to market, and generally speaking, the improvement in operational efficiency. These are business needs that need to be translated into technical solutions that may be CRM, workflow engine, Unix access point, delivery tracking, and so on. In particular, our SMEs, GasMed, had a strong need to upgrade from their legacy standalone system towards a flexible and scalable system, since flexibility and scalability is one of the most important needs that we find in our portfolio of customers. So they need to move towards a cloud readiness. So again, which is the typical path that we as IT broker follow together with our customers? The first step is to design together with them their business process, so to go towards a business process reengineering. Then to have an appropriate modeling tool in order to have a solid tool to design their process, then to design an abstract workflow and go towards a CloudSocket solution. CloudSocket solution that is both can be represented both as a consulting package that meets more standardized and off-the-shelf solution, and towards an operation package, and towards a consulting package that is instead more tailored, oriented to tailor solution for the customers. Thank you, Robert.
Thank you very much, Stefan. This concludes with the introduction. So this is setting up the scene. We would like to go to companies. We are focusing on SMEs because that was a challenging market we would like to enter. But of course, this principle is also valid for large companies and public administrations. And we would like to provide consultancies, business incubators with tools to help in this digital transformation. So what do we need, or what do we mean with digital transformation? We mean that every organization is facing this digital transformation, and now each organization needs to decide which IT solutions do I want to keep and which I would like to give to the cloud or give to another provider. So really the question is, what shall I keep and what shall I give away? And this depends on several dimensions: trust, privacy, costs, competence, flexibility, complex situations, changing situations. So these are questions companies need to ask and then make a decision: which parts do I give away and which parts do I keep in-house? Now, I would like to introduce again that we are talking now for BPAS Consulting, which is design and evaluation. So now we talk about design and evaluation, and I hand over to my colleague. He's showing a business process management toolkit, Adonis, and shows what in addition can be done. So please, Damiano Falcioni from BUC, please.
Thank you, Robert. So I will show you two features of the BPAS design environment that will support this digital transformation. The first one is the cloud readiness check. It's a tool based on questionnaire that will evaluate the readiness of every task of our business process in order to be deployed on a cloud environment. And the second one is the simulation of this business process in order to estimate costs and times. The cloud readiness start answering some questions, some general questions for the business process. For the general business process, now I proceeded with some answer. Once we start the cloud readiness check and we fill this questionnaire, this general questionnaire, we have to go through the business process step by step, and for each task we should answer more detailed questions. Once we answer such questions, we get a score, and this score is displayed also in the business process and estimate the readiness to be deployed on the web for such kind of task. I create some question prepared for more tasks, and if we see right now, we have to go through also the gateway in the business process, and if we go, for example, now, let's see that in such a case, this activity is have a yellow mark, means that it can be deployed in the cloud, but with some column. And basically, this one is a user-friendly interface for the model and business user in order to simplify the digital transformation to the cloud environment. The second one is the simulation. The simulation environment gives the possibility to estimate some costs and some other statistical indexes that a business analysis can evaluate in order to identify which is the best solution to be used in the cloud. So which one should be more economical, or the probability of using one solution instead of another based on the number of executions, and give also information about the structure. So in such a case, we introduce a dead looked path, so we can identify also incorrect situation and visualize such kind of situation directly in the model in dynamic way. In such a case, it is highlighted this error that we introduce on purpose, and that will block the process and will fail, make the process fail. So the user can, the model can correct and so a correct model to be deployed. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Damiano. Now, if you would like to have a more detailed view on what you have just seen, selecting from existing processes, so selecting which of the processes you would like to use, maybe specifying and checking if this is actually recommended to go to the cloud, or because of some regulations avoid going to the cloud, or even about skills. And if you decide, yes, it would be nice, what is the right SLA, what is the risk, and then make a simulation so that you have a decision support tool. You see here on this slide the different downloads and webinars that explain this in more detail. So if you would like to have more details, please visit those webinars on YouTube or download the tools which are for free for test purpose. Now, in case you decided to go into the cloud, you would like also to monitor the offering, if the offerings are actually doing what you want. And let's assume some of the services you buy from a provider, and is this really what you wanted to do? And this is what we're discussing in this evaluation. So we know that there is a bottom-up sensors, and these bottom-up sensors are well-known technical sensors. And what is often missing is the top-down KPIs, because that's my intention. I would like to flexibilize my business. I would like to have a cost reduction. I would like to be not locked in a vendor. Do I achieve this? And that's again the question where we can identify key performance indicators and a dashboard, and Damiano will now show you the second part of the consulting, the evaluation.
Okay, thank you, Robert. So, so using the design environment, it's possible to model the KPIs and goals of our business process. In such a case, we modeled some infrastructural goals and some service and work goals and some business goals. Like Robert previously said, we have a trust or web look-in, but also infrastructural goals like response times, KPIs like response times for different services. And once we define this KPI and once we map it to the evaluation environment, we can visualize their value in the integrated dashboard present inside the design environment that will retrieve the values from the evaluation environment and display in a user-friendly way with the status evaluating goals over the KPI. So displaying their status and the information on the KPI based on the last values. Thank you, Robert.
Okay, as we can see here, there are some KPIs. Some of them are business relevant. Did they really achieve this avoidance of vendor lock-in? Do I really only use trusted services? But there are also technical indicators. What is the costs? What is the availability of the services? And how to get these technical sensors. And when I talk about technical sensors, we are talking about the infrastructure, we are talking about the SaaS layer, and of course we are also talking about the workflow layer. How to get those figures and indicators. These are sensors that are installed in the infrastructure, and how this is exactly done is outlooked by a research and research institution, FORCE from Greece. So Kyriakos Kritikos will introduce what are the plans to put sensors to get these sensors information.
Okay, thank you, Robert. So the technical solution underlying the business dashboard showing the evaluation KPIs relies on public approach where information is harvested from different components from the execution environment, and it maps to two different types. The first type is device dependency information. So how the device is mapped to the workflow and how the workflow is mapped to particular cloud services. And the second information is the sense measured information about the business the BPaaS and its elements. So after this, all this information is harvested, then it's systematically listed and structured according to a particular ontologies, and then it's also linked. So in this way, you are able to understand for which measurement the respective components is mapped to. So once you do that, and you have all this information linked, then you can store it in a knowledge space. And if you want to evaluate the KPI, we just transform its specification to a smart query, which is easy to cover the knowledge space. And then we can get the value out of this query, and you can compare it with the KPI threshold. And then you can know whether the KPI is valid or not. And apart from a simple KPI analysis, you can also support KPI drill down. So whenever you have an evaluation of KPI, then you can actually go down to more specific KPIs, which can be on a technical level, and see which one is blamed for the top level KPI violation. So all this KPI analysis and drill down functionality has been wrapped into the form of a particular REST service, which you can see in the following. But you can also find more details on the respective link that you can see in the bottom of the slide. So this is actually the service underlying the actual functionality visualized by the business dashboard. So you can see there are multiple methods. There are two which map with two different analysis functionalities for the KPIs, but there are also some assisted methods which, for example, can enable you to evaluate any KPI method you want, which can be specified via a particular formula or other KPIs. So here you can see the first method, which does a simple KPI analysis. So the user will provide some parameters which map to which is the BPaaS, what is the KPI you want to evaluate, so the mean cycle time, what is the evaluation period, and then when you actually invoke the method, then you can see the respective results, so the actual mean cycle time values for particular time period. And this is for the simple KPI analysis, and if you want to do some drill down, then you can invoke this method here, where you can specify particular parameters which are similar to the previous call, but now you can evaluate, for example, the mean availability KPI. And once you do that, then you can see in the results that you are able to obtain not only the availability for the whole BPaaS, but also the availability which, of the SaaS and IaaS services which are related to this BPaaS. So this ends the demonstration of the technical solution of the KPI evaluation, and I'll go back to Robert. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Kyriakos Kritikos from Greece. And again, at the bottom of the slides, you see demonstration YouTube links. So these are webinars that are regularly made and performed by the CloudSocket Consortium. So every month there is a webinar. The next one is tomorrow on Wednesday the 12th. But if you want to, again, look into more details on these individual sensors, please follow the link down there or get in contact with Kyriakos directly. Now, this is a consulting view. These are tools we give to business incubators or consulting companies to manage how to get their customers into the digital transformation. But as a research project, we also would like to see how smart mechanisms can assist this scenario, and I would like to hand over to Knut Hinkelmann, Professor Knut Hinkelmann from Fachhochschule Nordwestschweiz, to describe how this can be supported with smart technology.
As we already saw, the BPaaS starts with modeling the business processes. For this, we use modeling tools to model process in a way that we see it here on the slide. So we have modeling tools that are easy to use by humans and where humans can understand and easily interpret what we see of the process. But what we want to do in the end is we want to support the alignment of the business and IT, so bring the processes in the cloud. To do this, we need information and models that are interpretable by a machine. So this is what we see here on the right-hand side. We have to have a representation of the process in the machine interpretable format. And there has to be some alignment of these two. So the machine interpretable model have to represent the same information that we have in the graphical representation that we already saw before. And this is done with what we call the semantic lifting. So we have the representation of the semantics in the machine interpretable format. And we can add information from the ontology. So this means the information that we have, the knowledge of the domain, to the process models. And then we can do the semantic alignment. The semantic alignments mean that we can select the appropriate services and appropriate workflow for our business process. And this has two steps. The first step is to align the language of the business users and the technical users. So business users don't want to talk about technology and technological issues, they talk about their business needs. And this has to be mapped into the technology language. And the second is that if you have these requirements mapped, then we compare it with the description of the workflows and the services. This is what we call the business IT alignment. And this is what we support with our tools. To do this, on the one hand side, we can add this knowledge to the process models in the appropriate way. But what we developed was context-sensitive and context-adaptive questionnaire. So we asked the users some easy questions in the business language so that they can specify their requirements. And with these answers of these questions, we reduce the possible services that are usable to get the process into the cloud. We see here on the right, in this blue frame, the services. As soon as we answer a question, the number of possible services will be reduced, and we want to ask the user only 10 questions that are really necessary to reduce the services to the really applicable ones.
Thank you very much, Knut. And again, everybody who wants to have more details on the webpage and on YouTube, we have the detailed webinars on this. And I like the approach that you transform human interpretable information into a machine interpretable information by questionnaires. So actually you ask some questions and the person is annotating, semantically formalizing the concept. So that's a very interesting approach, and I hope that we see this technology in the near future. Now, this concludes with the consulting components. We make now a short break looking at the administrative. If there are any questions concerning the business process as a service consulting. If this is not the case, then I would like to present the second package, and the second package is not the consulting, but it's the operation. What does it mean to operate a business process as a service? We have a marketplace here, and as you can see here, you have business processes, but what is behind the business processes are the concrete running workflows, the software components, the software as a services, the deployment information, the full package. And now, if you would like to buy the different processes, this IT infrastructure is on demand installed for your organization, and after the time, it will be automatically reinstalled if you don't like it anymore. So there is a button which is called I want to buy it, but as an additional service, you also can have the button I want it, which helps the broker who provides all these offerings in interacting with the user. What are the processes I would like to offer, and which are the most wanted processes. It is needless to say that in addition to the processes, also services, etc., can be offered as this marketplace. So this is really a marketplace where processes, services, solutions are either offered, or you have an estimation and assessment with this I want button. And this belongs to the operation. And what we are looking at now is our Romanian colleague, Valerio, from the company Islands, explaining the marketplace. So please. Valerio to explain.
Thank you, Robert. What we have here is the business process, the CloudSocket marketplace, that you can also find online at the csmarket.imens.com. So here we have the business processes. On the left we have filtering possibilities by their status. The active process is the one that you can buy and install. The T's one are the ones that are abstract, that have an I want it button, and that can allow you to send a message expressing your interest about the process to your broker. And also, if you want to review, to make a more in-depth review of a business process, I have another one here. You can click on it, and a page will be open with some details about the business process and also some relevant tags that you can search by you can filter by in the main page. We also have the business process definition here that you can click and zoom in and see all the states. And also the business process implementation that you can also zoom into. Okay, and there is also a tab for the service level agreement that shows the guaranteed terms for this business process. If you decide to be a broker and have your own business processes in the marketplace that you can show and you can provide your users with, you have to push this button here to request a broker account. You fill in your full name, your email, and your phone number, and also a message. And you send the request to us, and you'll be provided with a broker account.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Just to avoid confusion, so that's the view of a broker. So you can offer to your clients, to your customers, different solutions, not only services, but the full business process as a services. Of course, this is also available on mobile. Underneath you see always the link to the corresponding demo version and also to the webinar, which is also available on YouTube. Now, offering. So we talk about offering, but what has to be strengthened that these business processes are complete IT infrastructures. So SMEs, companies, users can buy on demand, flexibly, complete IT infrastructure for certain processes. And this is explained now in the execution environment. And this execution environment, I would like to hand over to the technical manager of CloudSocket, to Joaquin Iranzo-Yuste from Atos, Spain, to explain what happens that the full IT infrastructure is flexibly configured for one user.
Thank you, Robert. As Robert has commented, what happens when the customer pushes the model, it is automatically deployed in the execution environment. So what it is automatically deployed, all the infrastructure that is needed, also the workflow, and all together is configured automatically. But it is important that it is the customer of the broker doesn't care about all of these steps. That the customer only will see an email that they can use it in order to execute this bundle that they are pushed before in the marketplace. What the customer execute, of course, we start the orchestration of this cloud service included in this workflow, You can see, for example, that we are integrating the Microsoft Dynamics CRM and also the Invoice Ninja in this orchestration. So what happens is we can provide this orchestration of cloud service, and we're creating this added value for the broker customers. Before to move to the demo, you have here also in YouTube the link that you can see more in detail. I would like to explain you what you will share, what you will see in the demonstration. You have for one side, you will see the workflow engine that it is responsible to orchestrate all the steps and to integrate the different data between the different cloud service. On the other side, we will see also that the workflow engine can obtain directly the clients from the CRM and synchronize directly to the clients of the Invoice Ninja. It will happen, you will see, automatically without any interactions from the customer to connect to the CRM and to change to the Invoice Ninja. And finally, of course, the workflow engine is also responsible to manage all the invoice in the CloudSocket, in the Invoice Ninja, to creating the data. So let's see the short demo. It is the email that the customer will receive after they push the bundle. So just only need to click here, and of course this is the same account that you have it in the marketplace. So you only need to connect with your user account that has been the same that you have it in the marketplace, and you enter in the dashboard of the CloudSocket. The customer can see here that now is the project. Just only need to use it. Behind this there is some installation, infrastructure, and so on that it's up and running to reuse it. The only thing that they need to provide is some details about what are the tokens that they want to introduce in order to connect to the CRM and the Invoice token and the Invoice Ninja, and also what are the different users that they have it in the company in order to assign the different roles that they have. So after this, they can start the process, and the new instance is started. So now we can enter as a new user, that in this case is Robin, sorry, that it is the account responsible. So what Robin can see, that you can see there is only the inbox for the different tasks that they can assign. So there is a new message in the inbox, and we can see this is an automatic step, just only to remark that every workflow is aligned with the multi-tenant. So at the end, you can see here that this name of the token should be assigned with the parameter that you have defined for your company. So it's again a new account, and you can see here that there are the list of the clients. This list of the clients has been obtained directly from the CRM. This is the CRM, and the workflow has connected automatically with the Microsoft CRM in the cloud and obtained all the lists of the clients that should be included. Also, you can see here in the Invoice Ninja that the same clients that we have it in the CRM has been synchronized with the Invoice Ninja. We can choose the Noguera, and the user sorry, because I have checked it update invoice, there is not any updated invoice, so we need to check the new invoice. If not, will reappear the list of the invoice that you have pending to be finalized. And here you can create the new invoice for this Noguera company, client for the customer. It's a bag 10 kilos, and the cost can be 10 and number 2. So what we have it now is the new invoice, and we can finish this creation. Now in the invoice dashboard, we can go to the invoice and to see the new invoice here with the status draft. That means that we can provide also different levels of validations, because now the user, the account should be validated by the supervisor. And now if we connect with Susan, that it is, she is the boss, so she will receive a new message, and in this case they can validate the new invoice and to say that it is correct and finalize the task. Automatically we will see it's sending an email to the client, and of course in the dashboard of the invoice we can see that now if we refresh the dashboard it is sent the invoice. So at the end we have different services in the cloud that we are working together in an easy way for the customer. Just to finalize the demo, you can see in this slide more detail about the BPM and what are the workflow. If you have any, you can see the details here. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, thank you very much. Now what Joachim actually explained, and I think this has to be strengthened, that is one sample of a business process, and this one sample was sending invoice to a customer. Of course, there is supposed to be many different processes. For example, we have processes for social media campaigning, for after sales management. So there are many processes, and also this presentation was a bit complicated with a couple of clicks. Please, what happened in the background? You bought a server, you installed an operating system, you installed the applications, you registered the users, you made different access rights to the users, you implemented and configured interfaces between several applications, in that sample customer relationship, invoice management, email system. And this was done in 5 minutes. Of course it was complicated, but if you have to do this, a system administrator is working, I would say, longer than 5 minutes. If you don't like this system, you simply don't buy it anymore, you simply deinstall it, and you buy the next IT infrastructure, and you test out the next one. So tomorrow Joachim can click on another business process, the old infrastructure is deinstalled, the new infrastructure is installed, and after 10 minutes you have a totally different customer relationship, a different invoice management system, a different email system, different accounts, etc., etc. And this is what we mean with a flexible IT infrastructure. If you change your business process tomorrow, have a look on the marketplace if another IT configuration is more suitable. If you are lucky and there is one available, buy it. Automatically deinstallation, automatically installation. If you are unhappy and it's not available, okay, let's start to discuss what is missing, what do you want to have with the old infrastructure, and then start with I want button to communicate. Maybe if several people have the same problem like you, there is a dynamic and this offering is also implemented. Just as a recap, and if this was a bit too fast, have a look on the webinars, it's explained in more detail, but this is what is all behind. Now, having back the screen, I would like to explain where we are going now. In this business process as a service operation, we had the marketplace as offer. Now we have the execution, which is the installation, registration, configuration, actually providing all the IT infrastructure, etc., etc. Now the question is, do we want to have also a support in doing all the complexity? Because this is not magic. These are hundreds, thousands lines of configuration code. And the question is, how can you configure these thousands lines of configuration code? And here we are proposing a system which helps you in doing these configuration lines. And I'm happy to introduce Simone Cacciatore from the company Foster from Italy, explaining how you can deal with all this, we call them bundle. So one bundle are hundreds and thousands lines of configuration.
Hi. So we are already logged in the allocation tool offered by CloudSocket that, as Robert said, they help the broker in order to publish a business process in the marketplace. To publish this business process in the marketplace, we need to define the deployment plan or better to allocate the service needed by this business process. Sorry. Okay. The allocation tool helps you also to manage the various business processes that, as broker, you are managing. So here we have the list of all the business processes that are currently managed by this broker, and you can have many, or you can have also the same business process allocated in different way, with different services, with different costs and different SLAs. Now we can dive in to see how can we allocate a business process. The first step is, of course, to select a business process. Okay, now it's downloading all the business process available now, and I will select the send invoice that we have already seen. Each business process comes with the concrete workflow and a set of KPI that are already defined in the design environment. We can select this business process, and now the allocation tool is reading the business process to understand which are the services that are used by this business process and that we need to allocate. Service can be of two kinds, like software component. In this case, as we have seen, we have the Ninja invoice component, or SaaS services. In this case, we have the Microsoft CRM. The allocation tool has the capability to allocate both kind of services. For the software component, as this software has to be deployed and installed in somewhere, we need to define the proper infrastructure. That could be a virtual machine or a PaaS offered by some cloud provider. In case of SaaS service, what we need to do is just to select an endpoint from the endpoint available for this kind of SaaS services. The last things to do are to define the SLAs that will compose the SLA that we have seen in the market show, also in the marketplace, and the marketplace information, like the title of this business process, brief description, pricing model, and tags and categories that helps the customer to browse the marketplace. Allocation tool helps you also looking for information required by the business process in order to be published, and notify which are the information missing, and allowing you to publish the business process only once it's really ready. Thank you, Robert.
Okay, so this was people's operation. How you can support the business process operation in the cloud. And now I would like to also introduce the research point of view, how we think that smart technologies and also technologies in the area of multi-cloud can help in this operation to avoid vendor login, etc. So here I would like to hand over now to Jörg from University of Ulm. So please, Jörg Tomaszak, please, it's your turn.
The name is Tomaszak. Thanks, Robert. Yes, it's my pleasure to now present what you may have perceived as the black magic of CloudSocket. What you've seen so far is that someone buys a VPaaS bundle or a business process from the marketplace, and suddenly, sorry about that, and suddenly, or once this bundle gets deployed and executed automatically. Of course, this is no magic, but it's backed by technical foundations, and sorry about that. And what CloudSocket can do for you is that it can automatically operate your infrastructure on multiple cloud platforms. What you see here in the slide is we draw OpenStack and Amazon as an example for infrastructure as service cloud offerings, namely OpenStack often used as a private cloud, and Amazon Web Services as the most well-known public cloud available. On the other side, we see Heroku and OpenShift that are representatives of so-called platform as a service infrastructures. Again, here Heroku is well known for public PaaS offering, and OpenShift is often used private version. What I have in the following are snippets from different demo videos we prepared and that you can also find on the CloudSocket website. Due to time constraints, I can only show these snippets. And what I'd like to start with is the deployment of the invoice because or invoice business process that Joachim showed in operation earlier. And what you see here is that you get from the marketplace, you get the VPaaS bundle that contains the configuration of the business process, information on the business process, but it also defines where these services that are addressed by this business process should be deployed, should be actually run later on. And therefore, the cloud provider engine of CloudSocket contacts the cloud operator and will create, in that example, a virtual machine where then the Invoice Ninja software will be deployed. Deploying means it will be installed there and it will be operated there, and everything is done automatically. Now, what you see in the video is the situation right after the bundle was bought from the marketplace, and now we can validate that really something is happening in this OpenStack installation. So here is the OpenStack dashboard, the GUI, and you can see here that the very top of the list is a new virtual machine that has been running since 2 minutes and that is related to CloudSocket. And you can also see that there is an IP address associated, which is then the IP address that will be installed in the workflow engine so that the workflow engine can interact with this Invoice Ninja. But sadly, this is it's not as simple as that. After the start of the VM, more steps are needed. So for instance, we need to install, as I said before, the software. We also need to install some monitoring data, monitoring groups, so that the software from Kiraxis can work, and also that we can check if the service level agreements are fulfilled. And once everything is ready, so Invoice Ninja has been deployed, has been set up, we have to register the workflow at the workflow engine and register the services that the workflow addresses. In our case, this is the Invoice Ninja, and this is the CRM system that also was shown by Joachim. So that's the automation functionality that underpins CloudSocket, but yeah, that's the CloudSocket user that can interact with the workflow engine, as shown by Joachim. But in order to really make the approach valuable for the users, it is beneficial to abstract from the actual cloud infrastructure that is used in the end. So we implemented a multi-cloud or even cross-cloud approach where the user or where the service can switch between the cloud providers even during runtime. And in case you're wondering why you would want to do that, there are two basic use cases for this scenario. First of all, is usually you want to run your service in your private cloud, but there may be points in time during the year when you need more compute resources than are available in your private cloud, so you can just use some resources provided by a different cloud provider. This is called cloud bursting in literature. And the other example is, of course, well, if something goes wrong with your first cloud provider, you may want to move your process somewhere else in order to ensure the continuity of the approach. Something goes wrong may mean that there's a technical failure. It may mean that the first cloud provider does not offer the trust and service level guarantees that he used to offer. It may also mean that he went out of business because of bankruptcy or something else, or changed the pricing model. So, and all of this can be handled by CloudSocket more or less automatically. I'm looking to Robert about my time schedule. I can go on? Okay. So here's another video that shows how this adaptation process works in practice. Again, we see here a camel or a EPAS bundle describing camel. And now it contains not only information for the IaaS installation, but also for the PaaS installation. And when I buy this bundle, this business process from the shop, this is as before moved to or put to the cloud provider engine, where it will first orchestrate a deployment in the infrastructure service level. Pause here. However, the bundle is prepared to migrate to some other cloud provider, and this can be the case, as I said before, if something goes wrong. Now let's look into a bit more into what happens on the cloud provider engine. So what you see here is the GUI that we have for the cloud provider engine. You can see here's one process going on for deploying. You can see that there's one virtual machine currently deployed. So the reason for having an own dashboard is so that we can abstract from different cloud providers and that we have a unified view on all the processes that we have, on all the virtual machines that we run, and on all the applications that we run within these virtual machines. And yes, so, and of course the virtual machine has an IP address, and Invoice Ninja runs on this virtual machine, and we can now go to the IP address and see that Invoice Ninja is really running there. Now let's break and move on to the next snippet of the video. It's from the same video, but just a few minutes later. And here we can see how the adaptation. Now let's assume that OpenStack failed, and here you can see what happens if this is the case. Now that's the starting situation. We have full deployment on OpenStack. We have the workflow engine that uses Invoice Ninja deployed on OpenStack. And now something fails. The CloudSocket adaptation engine triggers a change of configuration. So now we use the PaaS layer of the provider engine to install the same software on Heroku. And once that's done, we tear down the OpenStack installation and we register the Heroku installation with the workflow engine. And after that, we are able to use the new Heroku version as we did before. Now we can also see in the dashboard that there is a platform instance available. So this is a PaaS instance running, and we can see that it has IP address as well. It's still in progress here in the video. Now after a while it has an endpoint registered, and we can then use this endpoint in order to check that the Invoice Ninja is really set up and is working. So this is supposed to give you a brief introduction and just to ensure you that whatever CloudSocket does is hard technical work, but it's no black magic for sure. And I encourage all of you to have a look at the full demos that we have put up on the website and that are available for you. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, Jörg. Again, here is a demonstration of a webinar about this topic. So please visit the webpage and have a look on the different demonstration videos and webinars. There is a lot more stuff, so I would also like to refer to Force and Kyriakos Kritikos from Greece, whom we already heard during the evaluation. There are already also in-depth research findings in these multi-cloud issues. So actually we would like to monitor, censor if the cloud is running well, and if it's not running well, then thanks to these research findings, it can be automatically adapted, and so the user does not actually is aware that some changes have happened. And this is our vision how this cloud computing will work in a couple of years. Now the project results. On the top corner you have software tools. We had the design environment, we had the allocation environment, we saw the marketplace for offering processes and services, we have the execution environment, installing, configuring, setting up everything, and enabling to work with it, and finally the evaluation environment, everything coming back to monitor. Here you see a couple of research items. Each of the research items is described in papers, deliverables, webinars, demonstrations, so you can have all the content on the individual issues. We would like to recommend you having a look on deliverable 4.678, which is a public document explaining the demonstration, what you saw now. So there you have again some screenshots, some explanation, but the download links, the references to the webinars, and some user accounts that you can test and play around with. The communities, the workflow engine will be contributed to Fireware. We have some open source project on GitHub, and all the concept modeling issues are on adixx.org, processes, semantic lifting, etc. Okay, so please follow us. We have the web page. We have a similar event in October 11th in Florence. If you would like to come, please feel free to visit physically or virtually. We have our YouTube channel where each month we add a webinar. If you would like to contact me, please use this email. If you would like to contact one of the other speakers, I'm more than happy to forward you the email addresses, or you directly contact the persons that have been presented on the front page. Thank you very much. I'm now looking to our administrator if there are questions. Okay, this is not the case. I thank everybody for listening, and see you next time at one of our events. Thank you very much.